The league's in a really good spot. It's easy to talk about these teams, how well they're doing. What a lot of people don't do this time of year is talk about the teams that get eliminated and how they can improve themselves in the offseason or whether or not they even can improve themselves in a big way in the offseason to contend in the future under the new league CBA. That is where we have today's video and a lot of videos that I'm going to be doing in the near future. And we're going to start with the Denver Nuggets. So, the Denver Nuggets, well respected team at this point. They won the championship in 2023. They've been contenders since then, and honestly, before then, they were contenders for a couple of years. They have, without a doubt, the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. They have Jamal Murray, who is a playoff performer. He may not be an all-star, but he is a playoff performer. They have a good core. They have Aaron Gordon there. They have Michael Porter Jr. there. They have young talent like Christian Brown. What they don't have is depth, though, and they did recently lose to the OKC Thunder, 68-win team. They did take them to 7 games, so there is reason to be optimistic long term, but a lot of people in the Denver Nuggets fan base and in NBA circles expect them to make moves to shake up their team to get back into that top tier contention space. Their offseason really has already started. They fired the head coach Mike Malone with a couple games left in the regular season, which was something we've never seen before in the league. The way it happened like that. David Adelman was the interim coach for a couple weeks, really. He will be their new head coach for the next 3 seasons. He re-signed. They fired Calvin Booth, their GM, which, if you're a Nuggets fan, you know was definitely overdue. So you will have a new GM and a new coach going into this year, so there's reason to be optimistic about that. You do not have your draft picks this year. You do not have a first-round pick. You owe that to the Atlanta Magic via the Aaron Gordon trade, and you don't have your second-round pick. I believe that one is going to Phoenix. So what you are relying on to get better is cheap deals for veteran players that can contribute or your young guys to improve. The Nuggets fan base, a lot of people in the NBA circles say that Denver just needs one more star. I really don't think that's what they need, and I think a lot of Nuggets fans would agree as well. What they really need is just depth and role players. When they won the championship, obviously they had Jokic, Jamal Murray was playing great, Gordon, Porter Jr. playing well, but they had guys that they could rely on coming off the bench, such as Christian Brown in his rookie year. They had Jeff Green, a veteran. They had Bruce Brown, who was a great signing for him that offseason. They had KCP in the starting lineup, a 3-and-D guard. They had guys they could rely on off the bench. They do not have that right now. The only guy they have that they somewhat rely on off the bench is Russell Westbrook. And that is it. That will not get you very far in a loaded Western Conference. These are the lines that we need to know. This is the Denver Nuggets salary cap going into next year. Right here, 2025, 2026 is the number that we want. That is what we will be looking at and determining what they can do. So, currently, right now, they have $199 million on the books. And this is including all their options, by the way. This is including all these player options. Gordon obviously is opted in already because he's got this extension coming up right here. This is including if Sarge opts in and if Russ opts in, and the team options with Brown, who will obviously you will accept. Strother and Watson, you'll probably accept those guys too. So you're sitting right around here. For starters, so we'll start with this. Sarge and Westbrook might opt out. If I'm Russell Westbrook, I am opting out because this is a vet minimum. You can probably get a slight raise from this, probably like $4 to $5 million. I do expect Russell Westbrook to be back with the Denver Nuggets next year. If you're the Nuggets, you hope that Dario Saric opts out of this. And honestly, that's a coin flip at this point. I have no idea if another team is going to want that guy or not. So you just got to hope, if you're in the Nuggets organization and a fan, that Dario Saric opts out of this. And if he does, then really that resets you around this $199 million, assuming you do re-sign Russell Westbrook. From there, Christian Brown, we'll just talk about this briefly because it doesn't really impact them next year, but it is something that will impact their future. Christian Brown is due for a rookie extension. The max amount on that is around $34, $35 million per year. I don't think that's what Brown gets, but I do think you extend Brown now rather than waiting till next offseason. Because if he takes another step forward, that's going to up his value even more. He's above average defender. He added a 3 point shot. I know Jamal wants to have him back on his team for sure. I'm sure Jokic likes him. So I don't see them letting him walk. They need him long term. He's a good glue guy. He doesn't need to have the ball to contribute. And really, the big thing with the Nuggets this offseason, and fans probably know this, is Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. is my favorite Denver Nugget. Completely serious. And I know, like, as Nuggets fans, like, I'm sure a lot of people are pissed off by that guy, but I do really like Michael Porter Jr. When he is healthy and playing well, he is one of the best 3 point shooters in the league. So he is very important in today's NBA. He has potential as a scorer. He's still relatively young. I mean, he's 26, so he's close to his prime. The problem with him is you have injury concerns. He's not a great defender. He can rebound, but he's 6'10", so at that point, I'd hope so. He's gotten a little bit better on the defensive end. I don't think it's an issue of trying on the defensive end. I just don't think he's very good. And whether or not you want that on your team, if you're the Denver Nuggets, is a different thing. The biggest thing about him is this right here. He is due $38 million this coming year, and he will be due $41 million in the last year of his deal. You're paying this guy almost $90 million over 2 years. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. This Aaron Gordon contract is a really good contract. Their whole offseason comes down to whether or not they can trade Michael Porter Jr. And the Nuggets need to look themselves in the mirror and ask whether or not they want to trade Michael Porter Jr. I think the answer from the front office is yes. I think they do want to trade Michael Porter Jr. I don't know if they can trade him and get a reasonable return back for him. And that is the problem that the team faces, right? The owner, the Cronkies, also have Missouri ties. They went to the University of Missouri. A lot of people think they don't want to trade MPJ because of that. But when you have a guy like Nikola Jokic, who is the best player in the league and will probably be the best player that your franchise has for a very long time after he retires, you try and maximize your window while you have it, which is as long as his contract goes. Um, I do think they will listen for Michael Porter Jr. trades. I even think they'll call other teams about trades for him. The biggest problem with him, though, is you have this contract right here, and he has injury concerns. When he came into the league, he was projected to be the number one overall pick until he had a back injury, and that back injury kind of plagued him his first few years. If he has another bad lower back injury, who's to say what that does for his long term availability? It's also the fact that he doesn't really play defense, and he's coming off a pretty bad playoff performance. He had a couple of good games in there for sure, and he was hurt, but it is what it is at that point, right? I've seen stuff about Golden State being the favorite to get him, but when you look at Golden State and you factor in where the Denver Nuggets stand, you're looking here, you're seeing their first apron team basically no matter what this year. They will be a first apron team. They might have a small window in the offseason where they're not. If Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric opt out, they'll go under that. But even then, you probably want to get Russ back, and that puts you right back into it, which brings up limitations that we've already talked about. So, if you're going to do a Michael Porter Jr. trade, like it or not, he is in your core four, and that core four guys is one of the best cores in the league. If you're going to do that trade as a team that knows you need depth and you need role players, the only way I see you doing this trade is if you can, one, get multiple role players back, probably two, that you know can help you win more games than what you have Michael Porter Jr. on your team. Two, you save yourself a lot of money to where you can use that freed up money to either trade for a role player if you're under the first apron, or you can sign one in free agency. That's a possibility, and honestly might be your best path. Or three, you're able to get some draft picks back for him, because if you're the Denver Nuggets, you're not picks aren't an issue for you right now But if you trade one, your long term pick wise, you're looking a little low. And the problem with this new CBA and the restrictions is teams know that you have these limitations and what you're trying to do. Now, a trade I saw recently online was Brooklyn Nets trading Cam Johnson and a first round pick for MPJ. First off, if you're trading MPJ, the Nets for Cam Johnson, you're not getting a one with him. Like I'm can guarantee you that. But let's say that is the framework of a trade, right? Does that trade help you enough to win more games than if you had Michael Porter Jr.? I don't think it does. And you have good chemistry with Jokic and you have good chemistry with Jamal. I don't think adding in Cam Johnson really helps you that much. Like maybe you go a little further, but it's not a for sure thing that pushes you over. It would just get you off that contract. And honestly, to get you off of that contract, you likely have to attach a pick if you're trading for Cam Johnson, because honestly, they're on a similar tier in terms of players right now. There are other teams. The Warriors were the favorite to trade for him, but the Warriors don't have anything they can do to get this trade to happen because of what we talked about. So right here, this is the Golden State Warriors contract. Obviously, they're in a pretty, I mean, they look like they're in a really good position, right? Because they only got 170. That's because they have nobody on the books. They have Steph Curry, they have Jimmy Butler, Draymond is on the books. I think the Warriors would benefit from Michael Porter Jr. He can add offense, he adds size, he can rebound. Those are all things that that Warriors team does need, and I think he would be a good fit with these three guys, right? I mean, if you could somehow get a Kaminga sign and trade going, that's a possibility. The problem is right now is both these teams are over the first apron, and if you are over the apron, you cannot receive a player in the sign and trade. So if Denver were to do that sign and trade, it would have to be at the beginning of the off season, and maybe you could do a sign and trade where you get Kaminga, you send MPJ out when Russ and them are still free agents. That's a possibility. That's really the Warriors. That's really the best case scenario for both teams in this trade. I'm just gonna gamble on the Warriors being able to get a better package for Kaminga, and Kaminga also has to want to play there. I don't know how interested he would be in playing with a team that kind of has dominant guard play and Jamal Murray, and then obviously Jokic has the ball a lot. I think Jonathan Kaminga wants to go to a place where he can win games, but also be more involved in the offense, and I don't think Denver is that place. So if you take away Jonathan Kaminga, you have a couple other guys that would be intriguing for you, right? Brandon Pods, very good contract, good player, probably similar tier as Michael Porter Jr. There's no way the Golden State Warriors trade Pods for MPJ unless they're getting a pick or two back, which if you're Denver, you want to try to avoid doing at all costs so you preserve your future. Moses Moody is kind of intriguing, a big wing, good defender, could shoot a little bit. So maybe Moses Moody's in there, right? And then maybe Buddy Hield is in there, right? At this point, that only gets you to like $20 million when Mike is making almost double that next year. So, I mean, if the Warriors agree to do this trade, yeah, if you're Denver, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You're saving money and you're getting two decent role players. Do these two guys make you better than if you have this MPJ? I also don't think so. But if you use that leftover money to get somebody else that can contribute like these guys, then you can start having that conversation. But that's assuming Golden State would do this trade, which I don't think they would unless you attach a pick, which again, if I'm Denver, I don't want to attach future picks, at least not for guys like this. And other teams were like the Chicago Bulls. I'm not going to pull up the Chicago Bulls, but it's a similar situation. They don't really have a lot that you'd want. I mean, Kobe White's on a good deal, but they're not going to trade you Kobe White for him. So ultimately, I think the reality is Denver shops him, but I don't think they're going to like what they get offered back for him. And because of that, I think MPJ will be on the team next year. And is that the worst thing? I don't think so. I think those core four guys is still really good. It's top in the league, like I said. What you are banking on, if this is the scenario that happens, is you can get Russ back, an affordable deal, like 5-6 million a year. Sarge opts out, you have money from that, right? If that stuff happens, you are still probably a first apron team. but you can still sign guys in free agency or your non-taxpayer your taxpayer MLE to sign a role player that can contribute to you. Last year, that's what the Milwaukee Bucks did with Gary Trent. Gary Trent was very good for the Bucks this year. They didn't go far, but if the Nuggets make a signing like that, that impacts them huge. That puts you into like top tier contention in the West if you're not already there. You also have all these young guys on your team. You have Christian Brown, who has gotten better year to year in the league. You have Julian Strother, who honestly didn't play a whole lot this season. If you watched the NBA playoffs, you know he had a great spurt in Game 6 that really helped them push the series to 7 games. If you're Strother, he's a taller guy with like a guard skill set. He can shoot the three. He's got a floater. He can create off the dribble. I think he has really good potential as a scorer. I don't know about anything else, and by anything else, I mean defense or playmaking. That's the only thing about re-signing Russ. I think Strother, like to develop fully, I think he needs to be on that bench unit without Russ because Russell just impacts spacing and Russell want the ball in his hands. Peyton Watson, same situation as Brown, honestly. He's Christian Brown without a 3-pointer. He can be a solid defender. He's a high energy player. He just needs to work on the offensive game. The big thing that not a lot of Nuggets fans talk about is he even here? I don't even think he's here. There he is. Deron Holmes was your first round rookie last year. You traded up to draft him at 20. He is a 6'9", 6'10" power forward that can shoot the three. This guy would have gotten a lot of minutes on that Nuggets team, and I think he would have got minutes in the playoffs as they're big off the bench. They did not have that this year because Sarge is bad, and obviously DeAndre Jordan at this point in his career, you don't really want him on the floor. Hunter Tyson's not great. Vlaco Kinkar, I mean, you're finally getting rid of him. Another guy that Calvin Booth just signed for no reason. You're hoping on these guys to develop. I'm really high on Deron Holmes. I think Deron Holmes is going to have a big impact for them. Honestly, I could easily see him. You got your top 5 guys, right? And then you got Russ off the bench. I could very easily see him being the second best guy off the bench. Maybe even your best guy off the bench next year. He had the whole year off. I mean, he got hurt. So we'll see how that impacts him. The big problem you have as the Denver Nuggets, and the biggest sin that Calvin Booth made, was this guy right here, Zeke Nnaji. Zeke Nnaji cannot play ball. Zeke Nnaji is only 24, sure. This contract never made sense, and this is a big reason why Denver loses a lot of flexibility. Like you look at it, 8, 9, 10 million. In the old CBA, that's not a lot of money. But in today's league, having that committed, especially when it makes you a first apron team, is really annoying. And to get rid of this contract, you basically have to trade a pick or you have to trade a guy you don't want to trade. If there was a way to get off that contract without giving up a pick, I would take it in a heartbeat. As long as you're not giving up these guys, Brown, Holmes. I would even consider Strother if I had to get off that contract. But that's another thing I got to figure out this year. But yeah, ultimately, I think what it's going to be for the Nuggets. Now, if Porter Jr., if he like is 100% getting traded, that's a whole nother thing. And that's something I'd have to make a video for in the future. But assuming he doesn't, I think you're going to run it back with those core. I think you're going to bank on your younger guys developing. I think you're going to re-sign Russell Westbrook. You're going to get all these player options. You're going to pick them all up. You're going to use a mid-level exception to get a guy for like $5 to $7 million, assuming you can stay on the second apron. You're going to bank on those younger guys to develop, and hopefully next year, you know, Jokic had some bad games against OKC. Who's to say if he doesn't have any bad games, which is what we're used to seeing, they win that series. It's possible. But they competed. So who's to say they couldn't beat them next year? Who's to say these young guys can't get better and it's a better team? They're very much contenders. So I think it's important for them to be aggressive and searching for ways to get better, but to be smart and keep the long-term future in mind, knowing you have a guy like Jokic and you have these young guys, and not to get desperate to move off of Michael Porter Jr.